Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog, by the way, to get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 to draft those best ball teams with over $22 million in funds being given away this NFL draft season. So do that, and you're probably going to want the best tools, draft kits, DFS, betting. No matter what it is, you can go to 4for4.com/Mayo right now, link in the description, and get 25% off. I'm talking with Ian Hartitz from Fantasy Life and Jake Ciely from theathletic.com about some innovations in football, league punishments, and the tight end rankings for 2025. If you missed any of the shows so far, easy fix. Go down to the description or comment section. You can find the direct links there. But what I suggest that you do is smash a like to the episode, sub to Mayo Media Network, and turn on the notifications. That way, you're never going to miss an episode because we're getting into August, which means football is back. So check your calendar because the Pat Mayo Experience is going to be on it. Let's go.
Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Before we get to the tight end rankings, which you can find Ian's up on fantasylife.com, and you can find Jake's up at theathletic.com. Right now, you can find all that stuff. You want to get some projections, 4for4.com/Mayo. Big discount over there, and I'm fueling in some of my projections over there, too. Maybe you'll see my rankings up there. Who knows how that's going to work? When I do some rankings, you'll be the first to know. Trust me on that. But, Ian, you put out a story. I was actually reading along with it. Can you tell me a little bit about this? How Bill Walsh ended up stumbling upon pre-snap motion and Urban Meyer on RPO, like how some of this stuff just works and you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, it was cool. I've been reading. Let me get the title of the book if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, people still reading in the year 2025. How about that? The genius of desperation. It's just kind of going through the NFL timeline, how stuff has happened. But yeah, Bill Walsh, basically, when he was still with the Bengals, they accidentally stumbled upon pre-snap motion when they were playing the Raiders and their tight end lined up on the wrong side, realized his mistake before the draft, went sprinting to the other side, and they saw just the panic and confusion that it had on the Raiders defense. So during the week, they were like, hey, what if we actually started doing this? And then lo and behold, they actually did. And Bill Walsh went on to become one of the greatest offensive masterminds ever. And then with the, Urban Meyer Bowling Green, it was the Utah squad. They basically invented the RPO when they had a wide receiver basically accidentally run a bubble route, from the slot instead of actually blocking the guy. Alex Smith happened to notice it because, he was wide open after the corner blitzed, threw it out there, and they said, oh, man, look at that. So I believe Rich Rodriguez, inventor more or less of the read option. It was a similar story there. So funny, guys, how some of the most genius, innovative, offensive, just decisions in NFL history happen by accident.
I like hearing. I didn't know either of those stories, Jake. That I wonder what the next random part of offense is going to be that people just stumble upon.
Well, I was going to say, even to go one deeper, is Ted Wynn of The Athletic responded to Ian.
That's right.
And the Dolphins, when they move people along the line, the motion where they're going and then they run and they don't stop, that was actually stumbled upon by the 49ers when they changed their play, and Juszczyk was running when they were still on the old play. Like, it kind of went haywire, similar to that. And that's where the Dolphins got their thing from, with, having Tyreek Hill runs and Achane runs sideways and then the play runs afterwards. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the next thing that we come down with. Like, Belichick did all of his things on purpose. All these ones are, I think, the more interesting ones is that, hey, we stumbled upon something that breaks the NFL.
I like, when was it the Colts who broke the NFL when they lined up one guy in Peyton Manning?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about that punt. Was that the Colts where that just completely failed? They're like, hey, we're only going to have one guy block and put everybody wide and try to screw everything up with the punt, and it just was the worst punt in the history of the NFL. You remember that?
That's the one I'm talking about.
That was with the Colts?
Yeah, it was the Colts. If I was looking for something like that, I would probably look at the CFL, because their use of motion and the rules are so much different that if you could try to finagle it, almost like what the Dolphins did, I'm sure that there's schemes in the CFL that run with NFL level players would just smash.
Or the high school team that ran the A11.
Mid-play laterals are starting to be used a little bit more. Obviously, had the Kadarius Toney debacle that prevented what would have been the most famous one ever out there. But just again, I don't know. So many of these wide receivers played quarterback in high school anyway. It's obviously very high risk. I know people like to point to rugby and stuff, but man, like the downside of messing up the lateral is you're literally giving the ball away. So maybe it's not going to become a staple of every play or anything like that. But you talk about a way just to get the defense out of position, mid-play laterals.
You could do that, Jake, or you could just show it off in week 1 and week 2. Then teams have to prep for it and account for it every single week after.
I think that's pretty much what the Eagles do every year. They show off something the first 2 weeks, and then like, oh my god, when are they going to do it again? And they just never do because you're.
That was the stuff with Ben Johnson last year. Like when they were just dunking on the Cowboys and running these like tackle reverses up 40 in the fourth quarter. It's like maybe you should keep that one hidden a little bit. But on the other hand, you could be like, no, we're showing it, so now teams have to prepare for it. I know. I heard this Bill Belichick story where I guess Peyton Manning ran this, naked bootleg back in like 1999, and Belichick just forced the defense every single time before playing the Colts, spend a period preparing for this, never did it again.
Let's talk about tight ends. Let's have the Brock Bowers conversation to start off. I'm guessing he's number 1. No, he's not number 1 for you, Ian. Why do you have McBride ahead of him? Why?
It's provocative. I'm just trying to be different.
Trying to get some headlines.
Look, Trey McBride finished better than him last year. As much as there is a quarterback improvement with the Raiders, a lot of Brock Bowers' production, I believe he had 30 extra points in the next closest tight end in the fourth quarter. And if you guys were paying attention in those Raiders games, it's not like this was, a captain clutch moment, a little bit more of a garbage time merchant, if you will. So I'm not trying to take away from one of the better rookie seasons that we've seen, but a lot of those numbers, again, were just more so didn't have many other avenues to go with the football. Let's keep on feeding Brock. So I do certainly still project him to lead the team in targets. Him and Jacoby are going to be close, but man, just way more of a run first approach with Ashton Genty obviously there now. We do just have the concern of a new play caller, of a new quarterback, and maybe Michael Mayer just being a bit more integrated now that he's not going to be spending half the year on IR with whatever personal problem he was dealing with last season. So again, when everything is just close enough between two guys who I think we both believe to be awesome at football, give me the one that has basically nothing changing from a situation a year ago.
Jake, is the tier, because my projections have McBride, Bowers, and Kittle all within 10 points of each other.
Yeah, actually, my projections are different than my ranks. I go Bowers, McBride, Kittle, but my projections actually have Bowers, Kittle, McBride.
But that's the tier. Is that the tier for all of us? 1, 2, 3. It's those three, then kind of everyone else?
Big drop off after that. I think this is very similar, not the same size of tier because it's 3 versus 4. And you can almost, no, I don't know if I might argue that at this point with the Rice situation that Kelsey could kind of be the Burrow and maybe he rebounds after how terrible he looked last year. But if there's no Rice for half the season, 6 games, Kelsey's going to have that target volume back in play. If there was a Rice and Worthy, I'd be more concerned about that. But point being is it's similar to the quarterback situation. If you want to take one, you're probably going to have to take Bowers and McBride in the second round. I'm not doing that. I'd rather just wait on Kittle in the fourth. But the point being is either one of those 3 or same answer as the quarterback. Wait till the end game and take some high flyer upsides because, again, it's the tight end position. Who the hell cares about tight end 8? Tight end 8 is like, what, 9 points per game? Doesn't do anything for you.
And Kittle's basically Jalen Hurts in this scenario, right? We all have them ranked. They're in the same tier. I don't think any of us would be surprised if he finishes as the tight end 1. He actually did that last year in terms of PPR points per game. And just think about how hype we would be during a normal week 7 if Deebo Samuel's out of the picture and Brandon Ayuk is out of the picture. We would be going nuclear for George Kittle. That's his new reality in the year 2025. So haven't seen any sort of on-field fall off. I know he's getting a little bit older, but again, when it's close between Bowers going in round 2, McBride going in round 3, and Kittle going in round 4, just give me the cheapest one.
Let's see here. Over the past 2 seasons when Deebo Samuel has been out, Kittle has averaged 5.4 catches, 78 yards, and half a touchdown on 6.6 targets a game. That's in 17 games versus basically not doing much when Deebo had been out there. So I would be inclined, I guess the upside for him, but when you look at the potential volume that Bowers and McBride could end up getting, even after what we saw from Bowers last season, that they could break records this year in terms of target share, but still think I would feel the safest with George Kittle, especially with San Francisco's defense. Just it's people overestimated it last year. It wasn't that good. It was like right around top 10 in terms of DVOA. Now, I don't know how good it's going to be. They might have to be throwing a ton here.
The concern I have for Kittle, why I'm the third, is not even because Debo's gone. The thing is with Debo, there's overlap on where they do their damage against the defense. is that there's also a number, it's the Christian McCaffrey number. When Christian McCaffrey was on the field 2 years ago, Kittle was still great. It was just a hell of a lot more volatile. It was, to go back to the conversation we were having earlier, like the Anthony Richardson, is that he was putting up 20-point games, but then there was weeks where he just wasn't included because of the matchup. And you saw more Christian McCaffrey. And at that time there was Debo, but there's games without Debo and the Christian McCaffrey overlap where Kittle didn't have the big boom weeks. They were kind of 5-point games. Again, we're nitpicking. This is just how I break apart this tier to me, is that I still think that Bowers has another level. And even if he is just what he was last year, I have him for the most targets among tight ends. I think he deserves to be 1 if you want to put him at 2 and argue for McBride. My concern for McBride is that he wasn't the end zone target for Kyler Murray. It was Marvin Harrison. And Marvin Harrison had a pretty miserable rookie season in that aspect of catching a lot of his passes, including those end zone targets. What if that doesn't change? So it's very minute differences between Bowers, McBride, and Kittle, but I don't want to gloss over what Ian said, which is the two things that one thing that we both echoed a few shows ago, is that the answer is, who's the cheapest in this tier? It's 2 rounds cheaper to just take Kittle. Even if I'm right and he is the third, it won't matter because it's going to be a half-point per game difference anyway.
So this is the big thing, Ian, because I used to have Kelsey in like prime Kelsey years ranked at 8 overall, 9 overall. I thought he was most definitely a first round pick. And most years he was, based on he was putting up like wide receiver 4 numbers. Therefore, at tight end, he was even more valuable because you have to play a tight end. Someone needs to go in that spot. So scarcity of position does mean a lot at tight end if you can get guys that can produce like other positions. I guess my point would be, I don't know if we look at the end of the season that Brock Bowers is going to be wide receiver 6. I think he'd be like wide receiver 14 or something. So
none of them would be
a bit high.
Even Kittle leading in points per game last year was still only wide receiver 15.
Yeah. Like,
I think when I ran the numbers with McBride and Brock Bowers, they would have finished around like the flex 30, flex 32 last season. I will say if you're in tight end premium, all of a sudden, yes, that's the boost, and you can't actually treat them as these, late first round picks. But I hear you, Pat, and that's honestly why I haven't been willing to draft much Brock Bowers unless he is falling behind those wide receiver ones. When I'm doing Brock Bowers versus Lad McConkey or AJ Brown, I'm good there, man. Go ahead and give me those guys. It's once we get to Bowers versus your Tyreek Hills, your Garrett Wilson and stuff, that's when I can start to swallow it a little bit more. So maybe pause on that one. But yeah, the moral of the story, I do think George Kittle just several rounds later, that's the move.
Yeah, George Kittle's the best pick here on the board at tight end. It seems like all 3 of us agree with you. So watch out for blown ACL week 1 after he gets like 13
knock on wood, please.
Seriously.
That's what happens. Whenever we agree and things look good, it all goes to shit. We all know this. So after the big 3, Laporta comes in at number 4, but he's the Laporta potty. You probably don't want him, but he is on a tier of his own in terms of ADP. It's like early second for Bowers, mid to late for McBride, late third for Kittle, and then solidly middle of round 5 for Laporta, middle of round 6 for Hawkinson, late round 6 for Travis Kelce, late round 7 for Mark Andrews, high round 8 for Njoku and Ingram. Then you wait another round, you got Tucker Kraft, then Tyler Warren, Kincaid, Colston Loveland, Dallas Goedert. Now we're just throwing whatever. We're throwing shit at the wall here, trying to hope that one of these guys sticks. If it's not Kittle for you, Ian, who do you think you're going to end up with the most of on your team? Like, are you going to spend a 5th round pick on Sam Laporta? I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. I will give Laporta a little bit of benefit of the doubt because last year he did have, I believe, that early season hamstring. He has some ankles. Like, if you do just kind of portion up his season, first third, second third, third. I mean, he actually was starting to put up better numbers actually than we even saw as a rookie down the very end of last year. But that said, still got Amon-Ra. We got Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs allegedly getting a bigger pass game role. I'm just not confident enough in Laporta to actively be going out on a limb. So honestly, just in terms of the projection numbers, I've been drafting David Njoku and Evan Ingram more than just about anyone. Both guys who were starting to creep up, but man, during a lot of the offseason was able to get more so at that border 1, tight end 1 price. So I do believe Fantasy Life projections only have 5 or 6 tight ends projected to clear 100 targets. Njoku and Ingram are 2 of them. I understand that in Njoku's case, especially, we don't exactly have a proven quarterback under center. But man, when you do look at how both these guys have been used, way more low ADOT relative to some of these other seam stretcher tight ends. And in full PPR, we'll take all the catches we can get. So, rookie quarterback's best friend is a tight end, as I believe Socrates once coined. So I do think with Njoku, we have the borderline erotic Flacco splits. And then even if we do have to, suffer through some Pickett or Shador or Gabriel games, I still think that Njoku would be the, one pass game option we could trust the most.
Who's it for you, Jake?
I've started to get a few shares of Kelsey. Like I said, and just because, again, what if he is the number 2? And again, I would not take him if I knew Rashee Rice wasn't getting suspended. So let me put that out there. Like, if the Rice thing gets surprisingly pushed back again, like it originally was going to, and all of a sudden now it's 2026, I'd be completely out on Kelsey because I think the 1 and 2 would be Worthy and Rice. I think Kelsey would fall to 3rd. But with no Rice, he's a 2 again. And I think that's the upside here, is that if Kelsey bounces back, I mean, look how bad it was last year, and he was still top 6 tight end. So there's the upside with him. If it's not him, I've getting a few sprinkles at Ingram. I'm just worried about Ingram. It has to be volume. It has to be 110, 120 targets. And I know that Sean Payton's like, oh, he's their joker, but he's not Jimmy Graham. This isn't the same Saints. So I just have concerns at the volume that he's going to get. So outside of that, I've been getting a little bit of Hunter Henry and Jake Ferguson. I like to jump completely out of this tier. Basically, if I don't get Ingram or Kelsey at a decent value, in my opinion, I jump out of this tier and wait till the end.
Are you drafting any TJ Hawkinson, or is it just he's getting too popular now and it's like, yeah, it's a bit pricey to get TJ Hawkinson?
It's similar to Sam Laporta. Like, I threw it, like, it's true though. Like I was gonna say, I threw out the tweet from Avengers about like, what did it cost you last year? We got the Jameson Williams breakout, but it cost us Sam Laporta. It's very similar. It's like Jordan Addison did his thing, and yes, TJ Hawkinson dealt with an injury. So has Laporta, and all these things incorporated. But like, when you have 3, you have one on both of these teams who's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. They're both top 5 wide receivers. And then you have a number 2 wide receiver who you could argue for both Addison and Jameson, top 25. It's going to be hard for the tight end to get to a top 5 value unless something happens to the wide receiver. Maybe we get it as the suspension. Maybe Williams gets hurt. But that's why I'm just kind of out on, like, Laporta and Hawkinson are in this tier because they'll probably finish there. But back to my main point, I don't want tight end 8. I don't care about tight end 8.
And with Hawkinson, too, I feel like we're just still buying so much into this 8-game stretch in 2023 where Justin Jefferson wasn't even playing. So I could see Hawkinson
nobody left.
maybe having – yeah, exactly. I could see him having a hot start if we are going to see, Jordan Addison miss a few games to start the year and everything. But, man, we're talking about, again, in that 2023 year with Jefferson in a 7-game sample, 12.8 PPR points per game. Without, it boomed up to 16.4. So last year, I mean, we're just giving him the benefit of the doubt with the injury, but he was tight end 17 in PPR points per game. So again, Laporta at least had one of the better rookie seasons we've seen. I do think we can believe in the offense still and him being a very good player. TJ Hawkinson, though, again, I think he's one of the most mispriced guys out there. So I almost just worry because I am so vehemently against TJ Hawkinson. I barely drafted him all year, and in fantasy football, like Pat was saying, the stuff that we don't want to happen winds up happening. So maybe he goes off just because of that, but I really don't see the allure of Hawk this year.
To look at them, they're about 3 picks apart, Jake, between Kelsey and Hawkinson right now. I think I would take Kelsey too. Just hope he catches 10 touchdowns.
Yeah. There's a path to him being a top 5 tight end again. I just don't see the path for the other 2. That's
Kelsey, I think we kind of agree. He was pretty washed last year. He still finished tight end 6.
I guess the problem is if he's even more washed now, he's still being drafted as tight end 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you draft tight end 7, like, again, that's what I'm going back to. Is I keep making the joke about I don't care about 8, but if you draft tight end 7 and he's not tight end 7, move on to the next one because it's tight end. I want to find somebody who's potentially a difference maker. If you really want somebody, if you just want tight end 10, just draft Dallas Goedert. That's what he is every single year in points per game. Exactly. Yeah, who the hell cares about these guys? But that's why I said the Kyle Pitts thing, because I don't care if I have to drop him after week 2 and we were pissed off about Kyle Pitts again. But what if he's the number 2? What if Michael Penix is the answer? And that's been the issue, is that just Kirk Cousins couldn't figure out the connection with him. And he's been miscast since his rookie season because he's not a wide receiver, but he's also not a tight end. But it's similar to Jonnu Smith, who took a few years. And yes, Kyle Pitts had a great rookie season, and Jonnu didn't really have that. But similar profiles, Jonnu was on this team, is that they have that breakout later on where you finally figure out somebody who knows how to use him, and the quarterback being included in this. I'll take Kyle Pitts. If you want to take one of the rookies, go right ahead, even though I don't think their path is there this year. But I'd rather just chase a tight end who has top 5 upside than to find somebody who's going to get me 8 points a game, because that's so replaceable.
Guys, we haven't even named the best late round tight end yet. I'm sorry, Pat, but we have not named him.
We'll get to it, but I do think that is a more advanced fantasy move that you can pull off, especially if there's some rubes in your league. Kelsey and Pitts fit the bill for this perfectly. That if you draft them and they have a good week, maybe 2 good weeks to start the season, you can trade them for a lot versus any other tight end in the league.
That is true. You don't usually get trade value for tight ends. And if either one of them were to pop, hell, you could make that argument for Hawkinson really too, though. If Hawkinson had a great first 2 weeks, people would go nuts because what Ian said, they'll remember 2 years ago.
So, Ian, I'm guessing that the guy that you want to talk about is when you sit on your hand and then you get a Brenton Stranger.
I want the guy who scored more points than Kyle Pitts, the guy who's on the real offense that we should be targeting. Mike Gesicki, he got paid. He could be Joe Burrow's number 3 pass catcher. He's the guy that only had 2 touchdowns last year and actually could be seeing touchdown regression. He's the guy who actually is probably better at real life football than Kyle Pitts in the first place. So yeah, he got dragged down for a few years in these Dolphins and Patriots offenses that had no idea how to use them. Sound familiar, honestly, with Jonnu Smith, as we just brought up again, getting nothing done when he was in New England as well. So we saw huge also value for Gesicki last year when we did have T. Higgins missing time, really got force fed the ball. Joe Burrow seems to love him, and unfortunately I believe it's I forget his name, Eric All is out for the year again because he had the complications with the injury. So Drew Sample, Tanner Hudson, these guys aren't doing anything. Now I say this knowing that Noah Fant is going on his tour right now and he is going to be trying to ruin one of these late round tight ends. So I beg you, Noah Fant, no Cincinnati, no New Orleans, because I've drafted a lot of Juwan Johnson as well. Just go to Miami. Okay, I'm done with Darren Waller. You're done with Darren Waller. Miami, Noah Fant, make it happen.
Is there a chance Darren Waller comes back and is good, Jake?
I'd say slim, but it's enough that I'm in a deeper league. Yeah, I'll take a chance on him because he's still an athletic freak, and they said he showed up in shape. And again, we go back far enough that, when I referenced the Mike Tomlin thing, saying that there's a difference between being in shape and actually NFL shape. So it remains to be seen if Darren Waller is in NFL shape and he can play in the NFL and still has the stamina and can take the hits. All that being said, he's a matchup problem because of athleticism. He's in the spectrum of Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith in that realm. So if he shows up and he's out there and looking good for the Dolphins as the third option, cool. But I think the strange one, I'm taking a few flyers on, again, deeper league, because he could be the third option. And what if this offense looks anything like the Bengals, to bring that offense up that Ian keeps referencing, is that Cohen fixes things and all of a sudden they look like the Bengals and Lawrence is out there and Hunter is the 2 and Strange is the 3. But I think there's a rookie. I don't want to head too much down the rookie path because, again, I think the classes from the past 2 years are kind of inflating what people should expect. But one walking into a situation, and I know we just talked about that he's not going to have a great passing season, but what if Mason Taylor is the number 2 for Justin Fields? Look at those wide receivers after Garrett Wilson. You tell me that Mason Taylor can't walk in and potentially get 80 targets as a rookie?
It sounds like you're forgetting about the Yak King, Malachi Corley.
Oh, yeah, because he catches negative, and then anything, just getting back to the line of scrimmage is Yak.
Hey, I will give Mason Taylor a little bit of love because as much as we talk about, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, look what happened there. Cole Kmet was the tight end 9 in PPR points per game during that same season as well with Justin Fields under center. So it is a situation where, you do need to hopefully, see him get that every down role and everything. But using that as high of a pick as they did on the guy, I wouldn't be surprised again if we see something like that come to fruition. Jake, you had that great stat earlier about there being 2 quarterbacks outside the top 16 that break into the top 12 every year. I'm guessing there's at least 1 or 2 in a similar manner at tight end as well. And again, it would fit the sort of, guy you need on the field all the time in an offense without a ton of target competition. And I will say I've run some of these numbers looking at how important is it to be in an actual good real life scoring offense. Way, way more important and way more correlated at quarterback and running back than it is at wide receiver and tight end.
I'll give you one, Pat. If you hate Cooper Kupp so much, Elia Arroyo, Jonnu Smith and Kyle Pitts on the Seahawks.
Bronson Arroyo here, Jake. Come on now.
I'm just saying, if you hate Kupp, he could be again, I go back to the Kubiak thing. He loves Juwan Johnson. He loves sending his tight ends downfield, and Arroyo has that similar skill set, like I said, to a Jonnu or Kyle Pitts. I'm not saying to do it, but if you hate Kupp, you can maybe like Arroyo.
If I hate Kupp, I'm sure that there's other. I'll give myself a Stranger on this one. Actually, if I need 5 catches for 23 yards, I feel like Strange is my guy.
PPR monster.
Yeah, I would just use him on DraftKings all the time. It's he's like $2,500. Throw him at tight end, and hopefully he catches a touchdown. What do you think is bigger, the gap between the top 3 and let's say Travis Kelce, or Travis Kelce to Hunter Henry?
The first one. The gap to Travis Kelce.
Can you sell me on Hunter Henry, Jake? I could not believe this. This guy has never had 700 yards in a season. Why? What are we drafting him for? Because of the 2018 half-year pace he had with the Chargers and Phillip Rivers?
No, basically because I think if you look at the options on this team, and this is one again I would move on really quickly from, but you look at last year and his catchable targets and how many targets he did have and what could have happened if he had a quarterback who knew how to play ball half the year. And then even Drake May, you saw the uptick actually when Drake May got in the quarterback. It wasn't a massive. I'm just saying a full year of Drake May, a full year of Hunter Henry. If you want a tight end to be in that Goddard range, that's the thing. Like he does not have top 5 upside. I will give you that. So you can even use that against me as saying that, like, then why am I drafting him? It's PPR. And if we're talking full point PPR, I know we talk half point, but in a full point PPR, I think Hunter Henry could get into that 10, 11, 12 points per game, finish tight end 6, 7, or 8. But I think that's his peak. He's just in this range because those are the names I would put him alongside is Jake Ferguson and the like. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm like drafting him. This is kind of going back to the whole prospect of what we do at this position where, yeah, I rank them with Goddard and Kraft and everything, but that doesn't necessarily, I have a single share of Hunter Henry.
I'm with you. I'm not going to be drafting any Henry. 3 final guys I want to talk about. The rookies people actually want. So Tyler Warren's being drafted as tight end number 11. Jake, you got him at 18. Ian, you have him at 10. Disagreement right there. Then we stroll down a little bit to Colston Loveland. Ian, you have him at 12. That's ahead of ADP of 13 for him. Jake, you have him at 17. And neither of you have Theo Johnson inside the top 20. That guy's good. He's like the Darius Slayton of tight ends.
Check the RAS score, man. That dude is an athletic freak. He's also one of the guys who actually kept Tyler Warren on the bench, until his last 2 years, really. So Theo is certainly someone very, very late who I'm down with. But yeah, man, look, with Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, the history of guys being drafted as high as they were pretty good. And as much as Tyler Warren is in a crowded offense, kind of goes back to, again, that I know Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones aren't exactly rookies, but if you are trying to just profile someone who could just be eating in the underneath areas of the field, I think there's a chance we look up after week 1 and say, oh my God, 11 targets already for Tyler Warren. That is crazy. So no, Colts haven't made a huge habit of, again, featuring one tight end over the years. I think the comeback would be they haven't had a tight end like Tyler Warren. So I will say, to Jake's point, I haven't found myself drafting Warren enough, but I was talking about on the Fantasy Life show, I have 2 alarms in the morning, guys. One says great day to be great. The other one just says good morning, trying to start my day off with a smile. I had to change one to draft more Tyler Warren because I don't think I have enough so far.
I won't have any. I have Colston Loveland ahead of him. And it really comes down to this. So let's say I'm completely wrong, which I obviously don't think I am. But if Daniel Jones is under center week 1 and for the full season, I will move Tyler Warren up. I just don't think Tyler Warren fits Anthony Richardson in this offense with all the options that they have. Michael Pittman, hopefully removed from that back concern. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, who gets chucked downfield, and including from Anthony Richardson. It's just, and then you got Jonathan Taylor who's going to get 300 touches out of that backfield. It's just like, where are the opportunities for Tyler Warren? Do I think that he's going to be on the field as the number 1 tight end on this team week 1? Absolutely. You don't draft him there to have him start to timeshare. But I just don't see the targets being there in year 1, especially if it's Anthony Richardson at quarterback, just because of how Anthony Richardson's offense runs. Daniel Jones will use his tight end a lot more because he plays the intermediate game better than Anthony Richardson does in the middle of the field. So I'd rather take a chance on Loveland, even though I don't love that situation with Ben Johnson, including 2 tight ends, and Cole Kmet is still hanging around, and a lot of options at wide receiver. So that's why I'm out on both of them. But I want to go back to one thing. Like, it's tight end. If you take them as the tight end 8, I am not going to yell at you because it's tight freaking end. Take whoever you like who you think can finish top 10 because it's tight end.
Especially where they're going, like outside of the top 10 rounds, that's fine. I think that if you tried to take someone like, let's say, TJ Hawkinson, everyone seems to be a little bit down on, to be tight end 7, but you're taking him in the 6th round, that's now a bad pick.
Yeah. Everybody after Travis Kelce, put in a hat, pick your flavor, and take whoever you like.
Ooh, that's what we should do. We should do Jake's rankings, Ian's rankings versus me pulling a random tight end out of a hat.
I actually like that to see how it finished this season.
I'm going to be very curious what Loveland's route rate ends up being because it does have shades of, the Kincaid Knox situation where there's just enough of a paid veteran incumbent backup to become problematic here. So I do think Loveland's a much better prospect than Kincaid and everything. I've gone out of my way to get Loveland in Dynasty, but I have not been taking a ton of him this year. Again, when you do have 2 tight ends in fantasy football, you usually only have one, as much as everyone still loves to bring up, Gronk and he who must not be named from 15 years ago.
All right. Yeah, well, I think that's everything except for some breaking news I'm going to drop on you guys. You ready?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So this will time date the show, but I don't care. Where is it? I had it pulled up. Here we are. DJ.
While you're, sorry. Go ahead.
DJ Giddens, Jake, off to a strong start in camp. He might be the primary handcuff to Jonathan Taylor. Your take?
I told you so. There you go. That's why you set it up, because you knew that's where I was going to go with it. I was going to push back on the Loveland. You take a player at 10 and you don't have him out there. But anyway, yeah, I told you so on DJ Giddens. There you go.
Hey, by the way, guys, Jonathan Taylor has missed more games than Christian McCaffrey over the last 3 years. Just saying.
I saw a clip of Christian McCaffrey in training camp, and he can run, and his legs aren't falling off his body. So number one player now.
Toasted that 4-string linebacker.
Everybody out there, whether you're on one side or the other, just pick a side. You can't say, I won't take Christian McCaffrey and I won't take Barkley, but I'll take Henry and Jonathan Taylor. Like, you're either team one or team the other. Either injuries don't matter or the injuries do. You can't keep picking and choosing which. Injury prediction is fruitless.
Where are you guys at on where McCaffrey is right now? Because I've 4.
I've had him at 4 the entire offseason, basically because I do admit, and I think that if he was out there for 16, 17 games, I've said this before, he will be the RB1. But the difference between him and Barkley and Gibbs is about a point and a half per game. So while that's an advantage, it's not enough at this point to not factor in just enough of the risk that he has been hurt multiple times. But that's also why I have Jonathan Taylor behind a few guys. I've pushed them down just because while Jonathan Taylor can be top 5, we have to acknowledge the injury risk. I just said it's fruitless trying to predict it, but you can bake it into your rankings. So I think because the gap isn't 3 or 4 points per game like it could have been at his peak, and if it was, then I'm going to be wrong. I would take him one-on-one, but I just don't think that's his peak anymore, 24 points per game. I think it's more like 21. So that's why I would still take Gibbs, Bijan, and Barkley, and then McCaffrey. But if you want to take him one, Pat, I do not have a problem with it.
Is he top 3 for you, Ian, or have you budged?
I got him RB5. I have the typical top 3, and then also Devon Achane ahead of him. I just think we saw with the receiving capabilities last year, a little bit more explosiveness in the year 2025. Give me Devon Achane. But look, CMC at the end of round 1, guys, I think makes a ton of sense. And remember, there's a big difference between being actively injured and being allegedly injury prone. I just think we tend to look at this like, oh my God, Christian McCaffrey, 10 out of 10 injury prone, and we hardly even consider it with all these other running backs. So I do subscribe to the idea that, don't seek out injuries. They will find you soon enough once the fantasy season gets going. But man, just a situation with CMC, like if you're not playing in a league with a last place punishment, don't you kind of want to be taking a chance on players this early where if it does work out, you're going to have a league winning asset? That's what CMC is. And accordingly, I've been happy to draft him at the end of round 1, pretty much all off season.
So where does CMC fall for you guys when you're drafting? Like, where would you pick him in the first round relative to how ADP is going? Like, Chase will go number 1. Jefferson would go ahead of him. Who else is going ahead of CMC, Ian, at receiver for you that you would take before you got to McCaffrey?
I'd take him 8 or 9. Chase, Lamb, Jettas. I could be talking to Nico Collins. He's been one of my favorite guys. I think he could very well finish wide receiver 1 this year. Puka, I think it's up in the air. We got Devontae there. Matthew Stafford's back already hurts. Malik Neighbors is also walking off the field already with
He's
a freaking
fine.
bum
He's
shoulder.
fine.
He is fine. Good.
Reported he's fine.
Foot injury that they decide not to have surgery on. Surely it won't become a problem this year. And of course, we can love this offense that is ranked 30th or worse in 4 of the last 5 years. So I would say CMC 8th or 9th player overall.
Jake?
I'm at 8. Chase, Bijan, Barkley, Gibbs, Lamb, Jefferson, St. Brown, and then I go McCarthy.
St. Brown.
We had that St. Brown conversation on the wide receiver show. Click the link.
Yeah, that was a fun show as well. The sleeper show has been the real standout show of the entire season so far, at least. Look, we got plenty of time to make some of these up. Last thing, you mentioned last place punishments, Ian. I don't do like the last place punishment for our league. What we've started to do is we've weighted the payouts, and it's really worked out tremendously. That if you come in last, you owe more money. If you come in second last, you owe more money, like all the way up. So if you make the playoffs and come in like 4th, 5th, or 6th, you actually pay no money for the year. Like you win, like everyone pays, let's say, $100 at the beginning of the year. You just get your $100 back, but then last place ends up paying $400. Second last pays $300. That's how it ends up working out.
Shout out to a fellow Canadian, Jeff Ulrich. He just wrote a good article on punishments over at fantasylife.com. A couple of the ones I really loved. Becoming the bait in a paintball game with all the guys. You're getting the boys back together, so you make the loser dress up as a chicken or something and get to shoot paintballs at them all day. Also like the humiliation of having the loser put the commissioner's picture in your bedroom. That would just infuriate me. And just having to explain that to your wife, I just think would be completely comical. So bait in a paintball game and then having the picture up in the bedroom would be my two suggestions.
What are the ones that you like, Jake? Do you like the money punishment or like the humiliation punishment?
I'm just not big on the punishments in general. Sorry. I actually thought yours is interesting though. It just in my mind, I immediately thinking all the people in my home league, they're like 2 or 3 people would be like, I don't want to pay more money. I'm not going to do that if that's the case. Blah blah blah. So like, I actually think that's interesting. I like that. I think it's a different spin that I've never heard before.
But that's the thing, man. I feel like people, when their team sucks after week 11, if there's no punishment, half the league isn't paying attention. That's honestly why I love guillotine leagues, because when your team sucks, you get eliminated. You're dead anyway.
Well, I was going to say, ours is an auction keeper home league. So like finishing last place, a lot of people are selling off for next year to get cheaper keepers. So you would have to, for Pat's aspect, I think you would have to do only 100% redraft.
No. So the thing that we had to put in was we have a 4 keeper based on draft position, like Snake League. It's been a 16 team keeper we've done for ages. And the problem would be is like if a guy's team like wasn't all that great, the issue that we ran into is that like 3 teams would sell off within 3 weeks of the season.
So you're curbing the sell off.
So you're curbing the sell off just so it's a more competitive league because people don't want to pay that like steep fine for coming bottom 3.
There you go. Let's see there, like another aspect. I've never heard anybody doing that before. It's an interesting one. I think more people should try.
And we have like 2 or 3 guys in our league who are like petrified now of coming in last. It's great.
I don't mind the paintball one. I think those stupid ones like standing on the sidewalk in your underwear or something like that. Those I like the paintball. The paintball actually sounds like a good punishment.
My home league last year, I think they took it from, I think part of my take might come up with it originally. My buddy who lost had to go to a bowling alley. His score started at 300. And for every beer he drank, he got to shave off 10 points off that. And I think hot dogs were 5. So basically you had to drink and eat enough to get a score low enough to actually beat. Credit to Tom. He actually got it at 140. I feel like I would have had to go down to 100 or maybe even lower. But
or pass out.
Again, something. I'm with Jake though, like.
Yeah. Explain this one. Like, you guys aren't bowling like 220?
Sorry, Pat. We're not good at every sport we play.
You guys fucking suck.
I bowl straight on, man. I can't even curve that thing.
Oh, you just get the big wrist coming in. I mean, it's if you can golf. Like, are you right-handed in golf, Ian?
I'm not good at golf though, Pat. We've talked about this. If I break 100, I'm feeling good.
When you get the snap through at impact, it's almost like the same motion. As flicking
I feel good about shooting 150, 160, breaking 90. Pat's like, I'm scratch shooting 220. What are you jabronis? You suck.
Yeah, I don't even have, what you guys would call bowling on the, I think there's parts of New England that are like this as well, but like the upper Northeast, there's like candlestick bowling, and that sucks. That's hard.
Why don't you tell me how you wear 5 flags in flag football just to make it more fair because nobody can ever catch you?
Oh, I'm not that fast. That's a problem. If the agility wise, good. Straight line speed, not so hot.
Who was the one in the industry that showed up to the expo and blew his ACL trying to talk about how fast he was?
Oh, who was it? Was it Ronus?
Oh, Ray G.
Oh, Ray hurt himself at the expo?
He talked about how fast he was and then freaking blew his ligament.
Ray is a good athlete.
He blew his Achilles,
We've
didn't
all
he?
been there. Yeah.
Was it his Achilles? What? Yeah.
I think so.
Hey, that's a true fantasy analyst trying to get firsthand information on what it's like to come back.
I go back to see. I included that as one of my fun rankings last year. Things you shouldn't do over 30 for like if you don't regularly do them. Like if you don't regularly play pickup basketball, do not step on the court. You're gonna blow something like that. Those type of things you should not do unless you
but what
regularly
if you wanted
play.
To get into it, how do you ramp up to that?
Then you start like just practicing easy. You don't go straight into a game.
That's probably for the best. Yeah. Jared, your producer Jared is producing the shows on here. Don't you have to do a fantasy punishment?
Sit in silence.
He has to turn on his mic. or he's just not here. I think that he has to do one. I told him I was going to.
How do you not know if your producer's there?
Because I'm at my
He's
home
here.
studio. He's at the studio.
Oh,
He's here.
Wow.
There he is. There he is.
Anything?
There it is.
Yeah, okay. I just did a whole spiel and you guys can hear me. Yeah, came dead last in both, despite Jake's great advice over the offseason. Thanks for the help, Jake. But yeah, now we got to do the Denny's thing. So it's 24 hours in Denny's with an hour taken off for each pancake. But in my home league, we started doing a on the text thread at the beginning of the year. Everybody puts in a punishment, and the loser picks a punishment from that group, which is not a bad shout.
I like that.
See, my Denny's punishment would be, Jared, you would have to spend 30 minutes talking to Denny Carter. Friend of the show, Denny Carter.
I know he's a friend. I was waiting for the awkward. I didn't know if Ian knew. That's what I was waiting to see.
I thought Denny was done with fantasy. I just thought he does politics now.
Oh, is that true?
Ooh.
No, it's not true. I'm just talking shit.
Awkward turtle.
All right, well, folks, that will do it on the Pat Mayo Experience. Again, go to theathletic.com, get all Jake's rankings, and then, for comparison's sake, go to fantasylife.com, get all Ian's rankings as well. Jake, you're bringing back the podcast very soon, which is going to be this show. And Ian, I believe that Jake and I will be separate guests on your show over on Fantasy.
Yes. Yeah. So
wait,
that'll
the
be
Fantasy Life show.
The Fantasy Life. The, like Thee, like I say it.
And you guys say it like a dickhead, like Ohio State fans. The Fantasy Life show.
Oh God.
I like that. What else is happening at the Athletic for the fantasy package, Jake?
And actually, well, depending on when you're watching this. So it released on the 29th for wherever and you're watching this. So I told everybody yesterday.
Today
Pat,
is the 29th.
I know. Well, I said depending on when they're watching that. That's what I said.
So it's out.
I don't know when. So it's out. Well, we did something different this year, Pat. Unlike everybody else, we said we'll be last to the table to release our draft kit. We're going to wait till the very end.
Smart. Savvy move. I like the sounds of that. Anyway, you can follow me at the PME. I'm giving away a bunch of stuff in the preseason. There's a bunch of projections. There's giveaways. There's survivor leagues. All that stuff is coming up in August. I hope we've set the base before we get into actual draft season for everyone. Please share the show around. Help get the word of the show out because the three of us are going to be doing a bunch of shows together because it's been a great time. I hope you've been enjoying them. Smash a like, sub to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!